guys, in addition to our guest that we have planned, we are fortunate that we are getting a visit from somebody who is running for North Miami City Commission.
Seat 3.
Okay, C3. And so we get to meet a candidate, which is always fun. And I am from there. So I was born in North Miami General Hospital. And so that's
Lucky.
I know.
Is it still standing?
No, well, it became the Johnson and Wales Culinary School for a while or whatever.
Oh, well, there
we'll
you
have
go.
to find out. But yeah. So let's meet Laura.
Laura Hill, welcome to Generational Change. I think you're on mute.
You're
now.
on mute.
How exciting. I'm so glad to see you guys and to be on your show tonight.
Well, good evening. And yes, so there's only one technical issue. It's on our side. So that's
no. Well, you know what, though? It happens sometimes. It just happens.
It does.
Random. So tell everyone, I mean, obviously I said you're running for commission in North Miami, but talk a little bit about yourself, why, you know, what your connection is to North Miami, why this matters to you, like why you're stepping up.
And hats off to the Miami Progressives. You guys did, or your group did a really great job with that postcard event the other day.
Amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
We absolutely love Dawn Grayson. She's an amazing person. I know she was, I guess, like the primary organizer of this event. And so anytime the progressives in Miami have a candidate who is running for a local seat, especially with no corporate money, you know, we definitely want to make sure that you get, you know, platform with us and have an opportunity to share, why you're running. And so please, by all means, share. And of course, it's a little sentimental being that Jen's from
the area. It is. And like, to me, I mean, my dad grew up, he went to North Miami High. My dad was a pioneer class of, I think 64. And so like all the landmarks, all the old things, like that is where I'm from, you know, so it does matter. So I'm sorry, go ahead, go.
Well, like you said, my name is Laura Hill, and I'm running for North Miami District 3 City Council. And just a little bit of background. I've worked in Democratic politics for about 21 years. My first campaign was when I was 19, and I worked for the Democratic Party of Oregon. And we worked for a whole down ticket for the Democrats, but it was primarily for Al Gore. So I've been doing this nonstop for years. But when my husband and I moved to Miami, we bought a house in North Miami, our very first house we've ever purchased. And we started our family here. And we have 2 boys. And when I moved here, it was more my intention to kind of slow down and raise my children. But the issues of the neighborhood and the issues of the city came up, and I jumped right in. Our first catalyst was, we bought a fixer-upper, and a lot of our neighborhood was coming back up after the 2008 recession. And so, we were just doing a lot of work with our hands, just sweat equity. And then the city wanted to invite a Walmart to come into our area, and the neighborhood got together to fight it. Obviously, Walmart has been a devastating factor in the middle class in this country. You know, I've always despised their labor practices, and we fought it, and we were successful. And that was in 2014. And after that, we really realized how much influence we could have if everybody stays connected, everyone stays organized together. So we started a neighborhood association called Know Me Neighbors. And we started to just really get into what is going on in the city. And we were really unimpressed with the way that our money and our taxes are being spent. But not just that, when it rains here, our streets get flooded out with water and sewage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's not our sewage, but it's coming into our homes. After Hurricane Irma, my husband and I, we did a great job with our house. We immediately got all of the windows covered with shutters and things like that. But what happened was the city's manhole of sewage overflowed for 3 days straight, like a geyser. And our house
Oh.
was flooded 18 inches inside with sewage. And we had to get the walls cut out. We had to get some of the flooring ripped out. We had to pay about $15,000 to have the sewage actually sucked out of the walls. And the remarkable thing is nothing really has changed in the years since then that would prevent that from happening again.
Right. They've done nothing.
Nothing.
Right. This is a combination of class warfare and poor
Exactly.
infrastructure. And the infrastructure problem is a massive problem.
Massive problem.
Yeah.
And you can't, the way that I've learned over the past 11 years is you'll be told no. We don't have the money. It costs too much. But if you watch the city's use of spending here and taxpayers' money, we paid $2 million to host a Super Bowl party right before COVID. And we didn't get anything in return for that. And then they turn around and said, we don't have money for sewage. We don't have money for infrastructure. We don't have money for street lighting,
Right.
all these things that we actually need. And I think what was the catalyst for me running is that I'm just tired of our government not doing municipal governing. And we pay for we expect a return on our investment taxes for things like roads, plumbing, new pipes, good schools. When I moved here and I had 2 kids, all of the schools are unacceptable in the city of North Miami. There's a couple good ones, but there's no reason. And the city, just to clarify, the city council person really doesn't have a lot of control over the schools because it's the school board. But what I've noticed is nobody has really said, wait a second. Same thing with our roads. This may not be our jurisdiction, but the problems that derive from it are our problems. So when you have pipes overflowing with sewage, you have streets that are not being regulated, you have people doing donuts, speeding down. They seem to think that there's no solutions to the problems. But all over the United States, there are municipal governments making investments into people's lives. And that needs to happen here really badly.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much across the board. And what's interesting to me is that this isn't in a socioeconomic way, in a sense that the people that are on the coast, they're going to have sewage in their drinking water too, in their nice fancy buildings. So this is a universal problem. It's just affecting lower income people first and foremost. But eventually, it's good. That's what's so amazing, that people just don't grasp that this is everybody's problem.
Absolutely. And it's so hard to watch my neighbors and people all out throughout the district. In fact, there's a part of the district that has flooded for so long that right at the beginning, when I got involved in this area about 10 years ago, I was told by public officials, don't even go in that neighborhood. Those homeowners don't want to hear from anybody because they're actually abandoning their homes. And the city ends up foreclosing on them. They're abandoning them because they flood every year, to the point where homeowners and flood insurance will no longer carry their policies. You know, the job of the government isn't to entertain us necessarily. It's to do the things that we can't do. We can't run to Home Depot and buy new pipes so that we don't get sewage in our properties. So the government needs to go back to basic government tasks and obligations, such as the investment in the flooding and the sewage. I've been knocking on doors relentlessly for months, and I've run into at least 10 people who have had to replace the engines in their cars because the flood water has gotten all the way up into their engine when it rains. That's just not fair.
No. It's gross, and it's definitely an abuse of power. And I can't help but think of what you were saying when you said, okay, we spent $2 million on a COVID spreader Super Bowl party. Exactly. And you said, and nobody got anything for that. And here's the thing. If your city runs like our cities up here, which I'm sure it does, somebody got something for that.
Yes.
Somebody did very well by that choice.
Exactly.
Whether it's contractors or friends. And that's the ultimate problem, is the level of corruption. And at a city level, it's kind of sad because it's where it's most apparent, and yet most people are most oblivious.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that people around here are not oblivious to it. They're mad and they're disillusioned. And having been on the support side of candidates for 21 years, it's so painful to see people not even wanting to participate in voting because they think it's either a fraud or they think that that it doesn't matter. And that's across the board. One of the worst parts about our area is how disingenuous a lot of the electeds are, and how you know, they just want to play the different demographics against each other. But the truth is all of us have more in common with each other than we do with the elected officials. And because we're the ones that bear the brunt of their bad decisions. And when they did the $2 million for a Super Bowl, well, guess what? In a matter of months, they had to turn around and lay off about 300 employees during a pandemic who probably also lost their health insurance. You know, and had we not made bad decision after bad decision and essentially metaphorically maxed out our credit cards before we even got into the jam of the COVID, which has been devastating to our community. But the residents are always the ones picking up the tab for bad decisions. And it's not that they don't know, because for years, residents have been active. We have a wonderful citizenry who shows up to the meetings, even now that it's been virtual. Another thing is, they have not returned our meetings to the public. They said after the election. Mm-hmm.
Who is sitting in seat 3 right now? Who are you running? Is it an open seat or what?
No, we had the person who's currently mayor, Philip Bieneme, was our District 3 representative. He left his seat early to run for mayor, and he was successful, and so that left an open seat. And a woman named Mary Estime Irvin took this seat. She won by 74 votes. One of the reasons our area is very upset with her, and one of the reasons I decided to run, was because we fought very hard against a Wendy's drive-through on the perimeter of our district. And when she was running, we were very active. We had t-shirts, we had yard signs. We did not want that Wendy's drive-through, because where it is would bring all of that traffic right through our residential streets that are already overloaded with traffic. Again, it doesn't really add a lot of value to the area. Somebody's making money off of it, but it's at the cost of the homeowners. And so she knocked on doors and she said, I'm with the community. We will not approve this Wendy's drive-through. First second she got when she was elected, she voted for it. And threw everybody under the bus. What happened was they had to raise the land where that drive-through is going. And so all the neighbors are getting the residual flooding as a consequence. So again, here we are. We have residents who have owned their homes for generations, and they're now having all of these problems because our council person couldn't stand up to big-time lobbyists. We need somebody who will fight for the residents and make sure that we're not always at the receiving end of the I'm gonna just be frank with you, the shit and sewage that keeps coming as a factor of overdevelopment in the wrong places and lack of holding developers responsible for contributing to the upgrading of our pipes and sewage. So, you know, I knew she wasn't capable of doing it. I knew she didn't have the strength of character. And so, you know, ultimately, I decided I'm just going to run.
Laura, I'm very curious to know, one of probably the single biggest problem we have in Florida, especially when it comes to bipartisan campaign contributions, is from big developers. I'm curious as to how serious that problem is in North Miami. It seems that on the coastline area of what is our congressional district, which is Aventura down to Surfside, especially Aventura and Sunny Isles, they cannot stop building. I'm wondering if that is a significant problem as well, because over construction, over development really begets a big problem when it comes to, sea level rise.
And they pack the commissions.
Oh, yes.
They pack the commissions.
They do. And they fund campaigns to an excessive amount, and it makes it hard for people like me to compete. But we must get over that. But if we're talking about development, we have a housing crisis in Miami and in North Miami, where our housing stock is very old. We don't have a lot of land left to build. And so every little tiny piece of land, they're trying to pack highly dense units in there so that developers can make money and we can add to our housing stock. But what they're not doing is making the development work for our city. It feels like they keep selling us out to the cheap, the cheapest bidder, and they're not making development work for us. Back in the early 2000s, smart development was the key phrase. And I keep hearing my opponents and other candidates for the other council keep talking about smart development, but that's a catchphrase from early 2000s. What we really need to talk about is equitable development. Yeah. Because we don't have a lot of land that hasn't already been developed, we need to make sure that the land we are, earmarking for development and allowing to be developed does not come at the cost of already established neighborhoods. And they must account for their demand on our sewage and pipes. When there was a housing unit being put right next to a single family home, this man had invested a lot of money into his home. The councilwoman said, no, we're not going to put a multifamily right next to your home, but guess what? It's halfway built now. And I said, how many units is it? And it's and how many toilets now are going to be flushing into our faulty, leaky pipes? And they didn't even bring it up. Developer had no idea how bad our plumbing is, because the city just didn't have any interest in forcing these people to make sure that they're contributing to a solution and not just giving us more problems.
I think this is another component of us being a right to work state, and the fact that our labor laws are so detrimentally bad.
Yeah.
Horrible.
What you basically have, and especially we had a candidate for Congress, Amari Hardy, on last week, and he talked about the issues that exist up in Tallahassee. You cannot walk in the door without a major developer lobbyist basically knocking down your door. And because we're a right to work state, there is basically no way of stopping what is essentially happening here, which is they get the contract from the corrupt commissions, and there are no consequences whatsoever when, if in all, they fail with their building permits or anything of that nature. It's basically the responsibility of whoever ultimately now owns the land or is renting on the land, the developer.
Yep.
Free and
Absolutely.
clear.
Absolutely. And we've had a dysfunctional relationship with developers for the entire time I've been here. Now, there are a few developers, well, one that I do believe is in it to do things for North Miami. But the majority of the time that I've been there, they have strong-armed their way in through threats of lawsuits, litigation, and things like that. And it feels like our representatives most of the time have cowered down to that. It really truly feels to me that our local government has forgotten who they are representing.
I think they get very comfortable. They get very comfortable and very complacent, and they like being the man about town. That's what that's what it is. They like that position, and they want to sit there.
There is also something to be said for people who are in it for a career, but also to ascend the ladder. One of the things I do like about Mayor LaCava is that she actually is, I wouldn't call her wealthy, but she's independently well off. And that's less pressure for her to succumb to the pressures of being an elected representative that a lot of other people fall under the guise of. You could be making $25,000, $30,000 a year, you become elected, and then the next thing you know, you get these unbelievable opportunities presented to you. So I'd like to know, aside from obviously becoming an elected representative on the city commission, what are some of the things you think more of the local residents could do to avoid these pitfalls that seem to be coming day and night going forward?
Well, investing the time to keep up with what's happening through city council meetings is so essential, and just making sure that you're aware of the moves that are being taken. We need to kind of spend some time, though, regaining the trust of our constituency, because I don't think if I can't get them to vote because they're so disillusioned, getting them to sit at one of these ridiculous council meetings that sometimes go on until 4 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I had heard, and it's true, that in the past in North Miami, they would load the weird work up until the very end of the meeting. So, you know, most people have to get up the next morning, take their kids to school, go to work. So staying till 3 o'clock in the morning isn't really, you know, an option. But I decided I would stay until the freaking end of each meeting, just in case something was snuck in without public notice, without any kind of chance for public input. And once they started seeing me do that, literally, I will stay till the very end. Things started to get a little bit less dodgy in that way. But I'm telling you, we need to be fixing a lot of, not just infrastructure with our pipe, but infrastructure about how our city does things, because I feel like the public is being shut out. And I don't have any questions about who I'm supposed to be fighting for. I know very clearly what side of the line that I stand on.
Well, Laura, you've definitely made a hell of a case. And guys, just so you know, this is a standalone election. It is not, there are no other elections going on.
When is the election?
When is the election? Information May 11th.
Yes, and we're in week 2 of early voting. So this week, the North Miami Library, the hours are 11 to 7. There's no line. If you are in District 2 or 3, you have 2 questions on your ballot. Who do you want for mayor and who do you want for your representative? Districts 1 and 4, all they have to vote on is the mayor race. So it's literally will take you 5 minutes in and out.
Yeah.
But
it's hard though when it's hard to get people motivated to vote for city when there's nothing else on the ballot. It's like it comes down to like really very few votes because so few people participate.
Yes, and if you guys think that this can't happen, just remember Bernie Sanders won his first election by 10 votes. So don't think.
Where can people help?
Where can people help you, Laura, for the home stretch? And you said it was from 10 to 7 p.m.
11 to 7 at the library. And then on May 11th, we'll have the election. Everyone votes at their usual voting precincts. And I need help phone banking. I need help knocking on doors, text banking.
Where can people sign up?
I can put the number in the chat. They can call me, send me a message through my website, or they can send me an email. But you can just call me direct. I'm very hands-on.
What's the website?
www.laura-hill.com. All my I just put my phone number in the chat. You know, we can do amazing things. And what I want to do is take this job back. You know, so many of our officials have been using this as a stepping stone to the county commission or just ceremonial. This job is not paid as a ceremonial post. This job needs somebody who wants to show up and work daily.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just who I am. You know, I work hard at everything I do.
Laura, we really appreciate you coming on.
Everybody go support Laura. If you're in North Miami, get out and vote for sure.
This has been shared in multiple Facebook groups,
as
well as on Twitter, as well as our primary channel, which is YouTube. But in terms of reaching local audiences, guys, please share this on all local Miami and even Broward groups. Laura needs help.
Yes.
When I tell you this race can be won with a couple thousand votes, it absolutely can be. So there is no reason not to get involved. You know, this is where we talk about building the foundation, and you have a great opportunity to do it here over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, and if I win, which I'm working 20 hours a day, but I have an ambitious goal to renovate the apartments on Northeast 6th Avenue. For far too long, the city has turned its back on the tenants and let slumlords control Northeast 6th Avenue. That ends with me. There is no way I'm going to allow people in the city of North Miami in the United States of America to live in housing with infestations, no air conditioning, pools that are green with garbage trucks in them, vermin. It's not okay.
No.
And so after I win, I hope anybody listening to this comes and joins me, because we're going to do something big with housing, and we're going to need to, because COVID has really caused a bad situation with housing in Miami. So thank you guys so much.
Housing and climate crisis. Laura Hill for North Miami
Thank
City
you,
Commission
Laura.
Seat 3.
Thank you so much. And I'm excited to find this. So I'll be one of your
Have a wonderful
subscribers.
evening. We'll be in touch.
You too. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.